Hi everyone, today we are so privileged to chat with Jo Brown on the couch here for Unveiled. I'm sure you will be so encouraged by what she's got to share. She is so honest and real and sharing what God is doing in her life and in her heart in this season. So sit back and relax, and I'm sure you will enjoy what Jo's got to say. Jo, how are you today?
I'm really good.
That's
really
good. It's so wonderful to have you here on the couch. We've been blessed to have amazing women join us over this term, and it's great to have you here too. And we've started most of our conversations with you sharing 3 interesting things about yourself. And I'm very excited because I feel like you could have some really interesting things to tell us all today.
Well, I don't know how interesting. Actually, the first one is might be a little bit controversial.
Oh, that's all right. We like controversy.
Well, okay, especially after listening to Renee recently. I am a very, very passionate Western Bulldog supporter. But yeah,
we might have just lost a few viewers.
I know, so I need to explain why. I was actually born in the Footscray area, and my mum grew up there. So, if you cut me, red, white and blue comes out.
Oh, very good.
Geelong's a very close second.
Yes,
yeah. But I'm very, very passionate, and the day the Western Bulldogs won the grand final in 2016 is the most exciting day of my life.
Do you know, it was a good day because I felt like they deserved it. It was one of those grand finals that I was a bit teary and emotional as well, so I felt it.
If we kept talking about it, I'd tear up. I still tear up all these years later, but yeah. So, not the most significant day in my life, but the most exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you're passionate. Well, you'll have to start watching the AFL Women's and keep an eye on Renee.
Absolutely. Yep, I'm looking forward to doing that. Yeah. So, second thing.
Is it controversial?
No, this one's not controversial. I don't know whether it's interesting or not either, but this is very much who I am. I love to talk and I love to eat, and I love to do those two things combined together. So I love hanging out with people. I love going out for coffees, going out for meals, going to people's homes and having meals, staying over. I'm actually not good at hospitality myself. And so I say, some people have the gift of hospitality. I've got the gift of receiving hospitality.
Oh, that's good. And hopefully a few people can make note of that while watching this and add you now. We're allowed to have people back in our homes. Invite Jo over for a feast.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just the food. The thing I love about it is I just love to hear people's hearts.
Yeah.
So I love to have D&Ms. I love to be able to sit down. And I think when you're in that sort of environment, you actually really do open up more. And, I just love to hear people, what's happening in their lives. And I love to talk, but I also love to listen.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's number 2. That's number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Okay. Number 3, this year when I started to clean out my filing cabinet, one of those COVID projects, and I discovered all these boarding passes, and I counted them up, and I had 165 boarding passes from the last 7 years.
Wow.
And that's because I've been working overseas for many years. Actually, almost 20 years I've been working overseas. So I haven't counted.
165.
Yeah, in the last 7 years. So that's a little bit of trivia for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would not even have 165 in my whole life, I don't think. And you've done it in 7 years. And I wouldn't even come close to that.
Yeah, well, I'm suffering from departure lounge withdrawals at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think that's probably something to perhaps even talk a little bit more about, like living and working overseas. I know myself, I love being able to travel and do all of those things. But can you tell us a little bit more about, how did you actually get to the point of being overseas for the last 20 years?
Well, it's actually really interesting because I'm not like you. Some people love travel and they're really fascinated by other cultures. And I wasn't like that at all. And I can remember in my early 20s actually thinking people who travel a lot, what a waste of money. I don't feel like that anymore. I've changed completely. It's an awesome way of expanding your view of the world. But yeah, back then I wasn't really that interested in other cultures or travel. But when I was 20, I went to a Belgrave Heights Easter convention, okay? And on Easter Sunday, I wasn't in the auditorium listening. I was actually laying on the lawn outside enjoying the sun. But I heard the last two sentences of this guy who was speaking, and he said something along the lines of, are you willing to do whatever God wants you to do? And are you willing to go wherever God wants you to go? And when I heard them, I was really challenged, because God had just been recently challenging me about him being the Lord of my life, not just my Saviour, but my Lord. So the one who directed my life. And so I felt, well, if Jesus is my Lord, I don't really have a choice. I've got to say yes. So I actually went in the auditorium and went down the front, was prayed for, and signed a little piece of paper saying I was willing to go wherever God wanted me to go and do whatever God wanted me to do. So that was sort of the beginning of something happening in me. That and the next step for me was actually saying to the Lord, okay, Lord, I am willing at the end of this year to go anywhere in Victoria to teach. And that was a huge thing for me. I'd been living at home all my life, and so that was the next step for me.
Yeah.
And so my next big brave step was moving to Geelong. I had been living in Mount Macedon. And I moved here to teach at what then was Geelong Christian School, then became Covenant College. And I taught there for the next 10 years and just loved it.
Yeah, it's a great community.
Yeah, awesome community. I felt like I had the opportunity to disciple young people. I was built into, I learnt so much there, and I never wanted to leave. But over those years, there was still this niggling feeling about maybe God wanted me to be working overseas. And I had lots of questions, and I really didn't think I'd be any good at it. One of the big struggles for me was I can remember going for a walk one morning and just saying to God, there is no way I'm ever going to go overseas to work as a single.
Yeah.
But again, that whole idea, if Jesus is my Lord, if he's the one who I take direction from him for my life, I can't say that. So I can still remember in tears saying, God, all right, if that's something you want me to do, I'll do it. But you know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Oh.
So, but, I can't remember exactly what stage that was in, but as time went on, God just continued to work in my heart. And I did do a couple of overseas trips, and I loved it, and things were happening in my heart. But I still felt like, no, teaching at Covenant College forever is really what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
But finally, in my 10th year of teaching, that year I came back from a trip overseas, and I felt a real unsettling in my heart. And I felt like I was a pot plant. And God had his hand around my trunk, and he was gently wriggling me as if he was going to take me out of the pot and plant me somewhere else. And I felt quite uncomfortable.
Picture.
Yeah, but I didn't know, well, what? Anyway, won't go into all the details, but I got hold of a little brochure that talked about a course that was being run by an organisation, and it said, are you interested in finding out if you'd be any good at learning other languages or any good at working cross-culturally? So my thought was, okay, this is the next step I can do. I can do this course and find out I'm no good at learning other languages and I'm no good at working cross-culturally.
Cross it off the list.
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
God got me. So, but it was, and that's a whole nother story. But, the essence of that was that God did show me that I could learn another language and that I could adapt in another culture. And he also showed me some other things about myself, about things to do with linguistics, and gave me some ideas of some things that I could be doing overseas. And, and I can remember driving home from that course actually crying because I was scared. And I knew that God was saying, Jo, I do want you to go overseas. And I was excited, but I was also scared. So that was middle of my 10th year of teaching. I spent the next term praying and talking to various people. At the end of that term, I put in my resignation. At the end of the year, I resigned. And I did some more training. I had to sort of, get a few more skills under my belt. And a few years later, I jumped on a plane and went over to Southeast Asia, and that's where I've been ever since. And God's done so much in my heart, in my life, preparing me that point, but since.
Yeah. I find it interesting. I know myself, there's some things that I've said that I would never do this and I would never do that. And then I find myself there. And I almost feel like God doesn't want to make a fool of us, but it's that transition of, well, is it your life or mine?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you've said. And yeah, I think that picture of shaking the plant, that's a great, because it's uncomfortable.
It is.
And it hurts a little bit because you sort of get pulled and pushed in different directions. And it's a great way to visualise when God is preparing you for something new to move you. I think I'll take that one with me. So, Jo, when I felt a prompting to get you on the couch to share, the reason behind that was I have seen you present and speak so well up the front here at One Hope. But as for Jo Brown, the woman, I really don't know you. And straight away I thought, I know what Jo does, but I don't know her as my sister in Christ and as a woman of God. So that was the main reason why I thought it would be great to have a conversation, because if I feel like that, I think there would be many other people in our congregation that would also feel the same, that have followed your journey and watched and supported you for many years. And I think that's where, today I'd love to hear a little bit more about you, a little bit more about Jo Brown and your relationship with God. And I think in particular what God has been doing in your heart and in your life. So if you're willing to share that, I think it would bless many of us.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd love to. Well, there's been so many things that God's been doing recently, but I think one of the really significant things that's happened in the last couple of years it's I'm hoping will continue to change my life forever. I don't know about you, but I often feel like I don't measure up, and that's been the story of my life. When I look back, I feel like I don't measure up, and I look back and I think, I used to think, well, I wasn't a good enough teacher, and I'm not a good enough this, and I'm not a good enough that, and I find like I can never feel satisfied. I'm always working, always striving, and wanting to be perfect, and not wanting to expose my weaknesses. And at times I've talked to people about this, and they've, some people have said, Jo, isn't that a pride issue? And hey, I struggle with pride, no doubt about it. Right? But as I've thought about it, I hadn't felt that was the biggest part of this issue. It's not like I want to be better than other people. I just want to measure up. I just don't want people to look at me and see the gap. Like, oh, this is what a teacher's supposed to be like, or this is what, a woman's supposed to be like. But you're down here, and look at that gap, Jo. And there's this sense of fear.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, but why do I feel like this? Because I know God loves me. So it didn't make much sense. Yeah, there's this whole, fear of people thing and living up to expectations and all those sorts of things. But I still didn't quite get it, because I knew God loved me, so why did it matter? And then I started digging a bit more about God loving me. And I'd have people talking to me about God delighting in me, but whenever I heard that, I would push away from that. And there'd be times here at church where people would pray for me after church before I'd be heading back overseas. And people would pray beautiful prayers over me about God delighting me God delighting me and singing over me, And I would hear them, and there'd be something in my heart that would reject it. And I'd think in my heart, that's just Christian fluff. I'm sorry for those people who might pray for me. I really appreciated those prayers, but I couldn't embrace it. So I'm thinking, what is wrong? What is wrong? And as I continued to think, I was seeing a counsellor, and I talked to my counsellor about it, and she said, Jo, how would it, I'm not going to tell you whether God delights in you or not, that's what counsellors do, but how would it make a difference in your life if you believe that God delighted in you? And I just paused and I thought, I think it would make a really significant difference. But I couldn't just flick a switch and say I believe that, because I didn't. And so I found myself one evening trying to get my 10,000 steps, and living in South East Asia, it's humid and hot. So I was out at night, walking up and down my dirty street, trying to miss the piles of dog poo and dead rats and, you know, all those sort of things. And I'm just walking up and down my street, and I'm just crying out to the Lord, saying, Lord, what is it? Do you delight in me? And I felt him say to me, I felt him first remind me of all these beautiful things he's done for me, all these little things, not the huge things, all these tiny little things that he's done for me. And I felt him say, Jo, isn't that enough? And I thought about that and I thought, oh, wow, that's amazing. But God also knows me, and he knows that actually wasn't enough because he knows that I need to have it proven to me. And so then the next thing I felt he was doing was he was giving me a picture of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking up and down this dirty street, I have this picture in my mind of the prodigal son walking home and his dad seeing him in the distance and then just picking up his robe and running to meet him and embracing him. And it was just such a beautiful picture. And God was saying, Jo, do you see how much I love you, how much I delight in you? And you know the story of the prodigal son. He hadn't done anything good.
Yeah.
And so God just really opened my eyes that's how he felt about me. And he proved it to me from his word. And I need it from his word. So that was sort of the thing that just, he made it really clear to me that God delights in me. He doesn't just love me. Before then I thought God loved me because he had to. Yeah. And he felt sorry for me. But now, no, God delights in me. And so that has started to change the way I do life. Yeah. Because if God delights in me, what else matters? Yeah. Okay, I stuffed up. Yeah. I didn't get this quite right. People might be disappointed. I'm not saying I want to disappoint people.
No, yeah.
But it's not the end of the world. The Lord of the universe, the creator of the universe, who created everything we can see and everything we can't see, he delights in me. And that's just incredible.
Yeah.
So that's one of the huge things that God's done in my life recently. And
it's beautiful.
I'm really hoping, I mean, it's starting to change things. You know, you're in patterns and it takes a time for patterns and things to change. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to help me learn some new patterns and hopefully strive less and not be worried about being perfect and not worrying about measuring up. So again, coming out of that, he's teaching me to love who I am, who he's created me to be. And I'm learning, because, you know, I would look and think, wow, that person did that so well. I can't do it like that.
Yeah, comparison.
And he's saying, Jo, you're not that person. You're not Nicole.
Yeah.
You know, you're not Nicole. No, you can't do a million things. You know, you're not as young as Nicole anymore, and you can't. But you're not Nicole. You don't have to be Nicole. I want you to be Jo. And he's begun to show me how when I allow him to use me as Jo, not as someone else, that's when he can most use me. And that's when I can be a blessing to other people, when I am me. Daggy old Jo, who loves to talk and loves to sit down and chat with people and loves to put her heart on her sleeves. But it's actually then, and loves to listen, it's actually then that he can use me. So I'm beginning to feel more comfortable in myself, knowing that I am his precious daughter and he loves me and he delights in me. And really that's all that matters.
Yeah. And I would say that there's a lot of freedom there.
Yeah. And I'm beginning to experience it, and it is wonderful. And that pressure of feeling like you have to strive and you have to live up to things. So I'm looking forward to this. You know, I'm not a young spring chicken anymore, but I'm actually really excited about the future because I believe I'm learning to live in a new freedom.
Your lens is clearer, and you can see things differently as a precious daughter, as you said, and God delights in you. And I'm sitting here as you're speaking and I'm nodding because there's so much of what you're saying that I can completely relate to. You know, I'm very similar, a real perfectionist, and often feel like I don't measure up. And, you know, the more I talk to other people, men and women, a lot of people feel like that, and it holds us back.
It does.
Because we don't actually move forward into the things that God's calling us to, because we often don't feel like we're good enough or someone else will do it. And people would go, oh no, that's not true. You know, Nicole, you're so confident, you're so this. No one knows the thoughts that go through my mind, just as people don't know the thoughts that go through yours.
Yeah.
But something, and I know I shared this with you, is something that's really helped me is I can be the best me or a second class someone else. And I've made the decision to be the best me because that's who God's created me to be. And I will probably spend the rest of my life muddling my way through that. But I am so encouraged to hear your story and just hear, you know, what God's teaching you through that process. And the one thing that I love the most out of that story that you just shared is that you were walking along the street and you were crying out to God. And that's the only place we actually find out who we are, when we ask God, who am I? Yeah. And he will always reveal who we are. And it's never about anything other than being his precious child. Yeah. And for you to have that experience started with you crying out to him. And I think that's a key to take away for anyone. You know, take it to God. Ask God to work through those things, because we only move forward. And counselling. I love that you know, to say, oh, I was seeing a counsellor. A lot of people, oh no, I don't need to see a counsellor. There's nothing wrong with me.
I still am seeing a counsellor.
Yeah, well, I've been seeing a counsellor since I was 19. And sometimes I feel like, you know what? I need a bit of a tune-up. You know, I need a bit of a service, and I might go and then not come back. Those sorts of things and self-care, so really important. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jo, again, I think it would be really great to know for us as a church, how can we be praying for you? I often pray, and I've been praying for you for many years.
Thank you.
But I often haven't prayed so much for you personally. But I would love to pray for you personally. So can you tell us some things that you would like prayer for personally? And then before we finish today, I'm going to pray for you, because I think it would be a great opportunity to do that.
Thank you. That'd be beautiful. Look, I think this whole journey that I've just shared with you about learning that God delights in me as his daughter. So that is a huge prayer point, that I will learn how to live in that, and that God will help me let go of those people-pleasing things, that I'll stop striving. Because that's a really huge thing. And because it impacts so many aspects of life. And, you know, the last few years have been really, actually the whole time overseas, you know, it is a tiring lifestyle living overseas. And so the last few years I've come pretty close to burnout.
Yes.
And so a way that you can pray for me is that I learn new healthy patterns, and I am learning new healthy patterns to live, so that I don't go back down that track. And part of that is going back to that very first thing about Jesus being Lord, and God delighting in me, and being Jo. I don't have to take on all these extra things. Lord, what do you want me to be doing today? And I think it's the same for all of us, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's not about there's all these wonderful, amazing things we have to do for God. No, God, what he wants us to do is be obedient in the little things, in the everyday things, and what's next. And sometimes there are bigger steps we have to take, but I want to know, I want to hear from him, and I want to let go of that striving and feeling I have to be perfect, I have to do this, and I have to, and driving myself, and just responding to what he wants me to be doing. So patterns, learning to live as God's, you know, a daughter that he delights in, and that letting go of that striving, so I can just be his daughter and do what he wants me to do. And enjoy life, because he wants us to enjoy life too.
Absolutely.
In him.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to pray now. If you're happy to.
I'd love you to do that. Thank you.
Oh, Heavenly Father, Lord, you are so good. You are so good to us, and I just thank you so much for today and this opportunity to hear Jo's heart. And I thank you for her. I thank you for her honesty. I thank you for her realness. And I thank you, Lord, that you are working in her life. You are using her, and you are drawing her closer to you. And I thank you that you do delight in her. And Lord, I pray that she knows that. She knows that she knows that she knows that you delight in her just the way that she is. There's nothing she has to do. There's no achievements that are needed, Lord. There's nothing to tick off the list. As she comes to you as a woman, as your daughter, you pour out your love into her life. And Lord, I just pray now for the right people to continue to walk alongside Jo and support her. I just pray that as a church we can continue to love Jo and support her as well. And I look forward to hearing so many more stories of, Lord, what you're continuing to do in Jo's life. I'm thankful, Lord, that she's here today to share, to seek you, Lord, with their lives, and know that all you call us to do is be your precious children. We love you, Lord. We thank you. We bless you. We honour you. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been wonderful sharing with you, and I'm so glad that I followed that prompting to get to know you, because you have really blessed me. And yeah, I feel like if I hadn't followed that, I would have missed out on so much. So I look forward to getting to know you more and hearing more about what God is doing in your heart. So bless you.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it.
I'm not sure about you, but today what Jo has shared has really challenged me. And I just want to encourage you, if something that's been spoken today has stirred something in your heart, please reach out. You can email us at bloom@onehope.org.au if there's anything you feel like you might need some support with. Or call a friend, have a cuppa, have a chat. You know, real conversations change our lives. When we bring things out into the light and really talk about what God is doing in our hearts, the really gritty stuff, that's when transformation happens. So we just thank you for joining us, and we just ask that you continue to keep on seeking God. He loves you. You are his precious child. Bless you.